ensure democratization. You can have successive generation as politicians. You have members of one family contributing three, four, five, six people in Indian Army. They don't owe it, na? So similarly, in politics, you can have people from one family contributing to the nation building. But to control a political party, control its purse becomes a very different thing. And it is for this, and I would say that with this, one thing is clear that Indian democracy might have succeeded in creating electoral democracy, but social democracy has not percolated. People who become empowered don't see beyond their families. And that's the fact of the matter. I think the Bharatiya Janata Party is a rare exception where a family is not controlling a political party.
All right. Kartikeya, I also want to know from you, what does this mean for Mayawati and the future for her party essentially?
See, Mayawati has been losing ground from 2014 onwards. She has ceased to become a political force in the state. After she lost elections to Akhilesh Yadav in 2012, there is no way anyone would say that they have seen some green shoots when it comes to BSP's politics. Now, with this election in which Yogi Adityanath was repeated, BSP's vote base shrunk. So BSP is a party which has shrunk beyond imagination. So I think it's a very difficult job for him. I would also say that BSP is not even a pale shadow of its former past, because BSP used to have a lot of say in other states. They would get MLAs elected from Madhya Pradesh to Rajasthan to Haryana. So BSP in last tenure, with the rise of Prime Minister Modi, it has shrunk, and Mayawati has ceded that space. Look how many rallies Mayawati has done wherever she has gone, the issues that have taken. And secondly, a lot of people have accused Mayawati in media that she acts like a B team of Bharatiya Janata Party. She has opposed, in fact, the opposition leaders more than the BJP. So in a way, she has relinquished her space. And lastly, she is not Kanshi Ram. The sort of, I wouldn't use the word revolutionary, but the paradigmatic shift which Kanshi Ram brought in the politics of North India, Mayawati has not been able to do it. She consolidated Kanshi Ram's politics, but she fretted it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Kartikeya, for joining us with all of those important insights. For all those who have just joined us, this is a big update that is coming in just ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha election. Bahujan Samajwadi Party chief Mayawati has announced her nephew as her political successor. Moving on now, the Congress party has distanced itself from the businesses of its Rajya Sabha MP, Dheeraj Sahu, after over 300 crore rupees were found from his premises in income tax raids in the past few days. Congress General Secretary Jairam Ramesh wrote on social media platform X, formerly Twitter, and I quote, "The Indian National Congress is in no way connected with the businesses of Dheeraj Sahu, the MP. Only he can explain and should explain how huge amounts of cash have been reportedly unearthed by the income tax authorities from his properties." The Income Tax Department seized close to rupees 300 crore in simultaneous raids conducted at 25 locations across Odisha and Jharkhand, linked to Congress Rajya Sabha MP Dheeraj Sahu. The raids were conducted at the premises linked to Baldev Sahu and Group of Companies Limited. The country liquor manufacturing and selling firm is run by the family of Dheeraj Sahu. Highlighting the raids, Prime Minister Narendra Modi posted photos of the large amount of currency notes which were recovered during the raids. Taking a tongue-in-cheek dig at the Congress, Prime Minister Modi wrote that the countrymen should look at the pile of notes and also listen to the quote-unquote honest speeches of the Congress leaders. IT personnel first raided the premises of Baldev Sahu companies on the 6th of December on allegations of tax evasion, from where they claimed to have recovered 156 bags of cash. Simultaneous raids were then conducted in Bhubaneswar, Sundargarh, Sambalpur in Odisha and a few places in Jharkhand. The IT department has said that the total seized amount is likely to go up as the counting process is still on. This, in fact, particular development has left everyone shocked. And now in the latest, the Congress party has distanced itself from the businesses of its Rajya Sabha MP, Dheeraj Sahu, saying that he must explain where did this huge amount of cash come in from. This is right on your screens. This is the protest staged by the BJP leaders. They are demanding an explanation from the Congress over this huge amount of cash that has been recovered from Dheeraj Sahu. 300 crore rupees, over 300 crore rupees were found from his premises in income tax raids in the past few days. Mizoram's newly sworn-in Chief Minister Lal Duhoma is in one of his first moves emphasized the paramount importance of safeguarding the state's boundaries. He announced the imminent establishment of a state-level boundary committee to effectively address border issues with neighboring states. He asserted that this committee, comprising representatives from recognized political parties, NGOs, church leaders and MPF, would be swiftly activated to respond to any arising boundary concerns. Lal Duhoma acknowledged the need for his government to settle in and assess the state's situation before implementing comprehensive measures. Highlighting the significance of the border areas, he reiterated the commitment to prioritize the safeguarding of the state's boundaries. Addressing economic concerns, Lal Duhoma outlined his government's dedication to uplifting farmers. He disclosed plans to establish a fixed minimum price for local agricultural products, including turmeric, broomstick, ginger and miso chili. Farmers will have the flexibility to sell their produce either to the government or private traders. The Chief Minister also confirmed that the SEDP fund amounting to 150 crores under the Finance Department and allocated by the previous MNF government would remain untouched. Lal Duhoma emphasized that the state budget would be policy-oriented with a specific roadmap in place. Additionally, a resource mobilization committee is set to be established to coordinate, reduce expenditures and assess manpower. Lal Duhoma stressed that the committee would focus on austerity measures with him and his ministers, leading by example through measures such as expenditure reduction. A major breakthrough in the investigation into the murder of Karni Sena Chief Sukhdev Singh Gogamadi has come to light. In a joint operation, the Delhi Police Crime Branch and the Rajasthan Police have made a major breakthrough, arresting 3 men, including the alleged shooters. According to reports, the 2 alleged shooters, Rohit Rathore from Jaipur and Nitin Fauji from Mahendragarh, were arrested in Chandigarh Sector 22. A third associate, Uddam Singh, was also taken into custody. They've been taken to Jaipur for further questioning. The arrest comes after the police identified the alleged killers and announced a cash reward of 5 lakh for information leading to their capture. Tragically, Sukhdev Singh Gogamadi was shot dead in the living room of his house in Jaipur on the 5th of December. CCTV footage surfaced, purportedly showing the assailants opening fire at him in broad daylight. It was a shocking and brazen attack that has sent shockwaves through the community. An 11-member special investigation team has been formed by the Rajasthan Police to delve deeper into this heinous crime. In a twist, meanwhile, to the plot, another individual, Ramveer Jat, was arrested in Jaipur on Saturday for allegedly contracting the shooters to kill Gogamadi. Ramveer Jat, described as one of the conspirators, was instrumental in preparing the groundwork for Fauji in Jaipur ahead of the killing. The 2 were close friends, having studied together in class 12 in Mahendragarh. The investigation is ongoing and the authorities are determined to bring all those involved to justice. Commissioner of Police Jaipur, in fact, is currently holding a press conference. Let's cut across live.
ग्रुप था जो प्रकरण के पहले जो इनको सुविधाएं देते थे, जो उनको फैसिलिटेट करते थे, उनमें से एक व्यक्ति को कल हम गिरफ्तार किया था। आज उसको कोर्ट में पेश करके उसका अभिरक्षा भी लिया गया। इसके बाद दूसरा एक ग्रुप और थे जो इसको और कोई व्यवस्था करा रहा था, वेपन्स उपलब्ध करा रहा था, उस ग्रुप के बारे में भी हमें जानकारी प्राप्त हो गया। वो मॉड्यूल भी हमने क्रैक किया। ये दोनों चीज हो गया। मुलजिम को, जो शूटर्स को पकड़ने के पहले जो कैश ट्रांसैक्शन हो गया, जो वेपन डिलीवरी हो गया, जो व्हीकल उपलब्ध कराया गया, ये सारे चीज जो शूटर्स मौके पे थे उसको पकड़ने के पहले ही हमने क्रैक किया था। अभी ये तो प्रथम चरण हो गया। अभी जितना काम हो गया ये केवल प्रथम चरण है। जो मास्टरमाइंड है, जो कॉन्स्पिरेटर, मेन कॉन्स्पिरेटर है, उन तक जाल बिछा रखा है। तो हमारा नेक्स्ट जो चरण है, इस पूरा एपिसोड को जिस तरह तैयार किया उन तक पहुंचे और उनको कानून के सामने लाने का है।
सर, ये रोहित गोदारा से क्या लगातार बात करें तो वीरेंद्र चारण जो दुबई में बता रहे हैं, जिसने कि लॉजिस्टिक और वेपन सपोर्ट किया था इन लोगों को, शूटर्स को।
अभी जितना मैंने कहा आपको, ये सब आज के दिन में रिकॉर्ड पर जो चीज आपको कहा है, बाकी जो सूचनाएं हैं उसको चेन बाय चेन, कड़ी से कड़ी हमें स्थापित करना है फाइल में। तो हमारा कोशिश ये है, एनआईए को स्थानांतरण करने के पहले, हैंड ओवर करने के पहले ये काम हम कंप्लीट करेंगे।
My colleague Shalini, in fact, has spoken to Ravindra Yadav, Commissioner of Police. Let's listen in.
हमारे साथ स्पेशल सीपी जो हैं रविंद्र यादव जी, इनसे बातचीत करते हैं। सर, आज शूटर्स को, जो लोगों को आपको ने पकड़ा, सुखविंदर सिंह गोगामड़ी के जो हत्याकांड में शामिल है, इस तरह का बताया जा रहा है, कहाँ से पकड़ा गया?
चंडीगढ़ से हमारी एनडीआर क्राइम ब्रांच की टीम और राजस्थान पुलिस ने मिलकर पकड़ा है, चंडीगढ़ के एक होटल से। शूटर्स के नाम आपको पता ही है, नितिन फौजी, रोहित राठौड़, और तीसरा जो लड़का है उधम सिंह, हिसार का रहने वाला है, वो इसका लॉजिस्टिक्स प्रोवाइड करने वाला था। जो कहानी उभर के आती है वो ये है कि राजस्थान पुलिस ने हमसे संपर्क किया था और रिक्वेस्ट की थी कि ये
तारीख के साथ बता दीजिए।
5 दिसंबर को हत्या हुई। 5 दिसंबर को ही इन्होंने जयपुर से टैक्सी पकड़ के डीडवाना आ गए। डीडवाना से इन्होंने बस पकड़ी दिल्ली की। उस समय राजस्थान पुलिस को के सूत्र ने उनको अलर्ट किया और एडीजी क्राइम जो दिनेश हैं, उन्होंने हमसे रिक्वेस्ट की कि आप अपनी टीम को, जैसे ही बस दिल्ली पहुंचे, इनको गिरफ्तार कर लीजिए। तो बस जब दिल्ली आई तो उसमें ये नहीं थे क्योंकि ये लोग धारूहेड़ा में पहले ही उतर गए। तो जब बैक ट्रैक किया हमने, हमारी टीमें, तो हमें लगा कि धारूहेड़ा उतरे हैं तो अब ये पंजाब भी जा सकते हैं, हरियाणा भी जा सकते हैं, या यूपी भी जा सकते हैं। तो हमने सारी टीमें अलर्ट की और वहाँ पहुँचे। फिर जैसे जैसे ट्रेस होता गया, हमें लगा कि रेवाड़ी गए हैं। रेवाड़ी से फिर इन्होंने ट्रेन पकड़ के,
टीम साथ पीछे, मतलब उनको
टीम पीछे पीछे ट्रैक कर रही थी और कुछ एडवांस टीमें भी इधर उधर स्टेशन थी कि किसी भी डायरेक्शन में जा सकते हैं, हो सकता है राजस्थान वापस भी चले जाएं। तो उस समय तो जब, अब तो हमें बड़ी कहानी सिंपल लग रही है कि वहाँ गए, वहाँ से ट्रैक किया। उस समय तो बिल्कुल क्लूलेस रहता है कि धारूहेड़ा तो उतर गए, अब आगे कहाँ गए। तो और फिर जैसे हिसार भी पहुँच गए, फिर हम हिसार के बाद भी ये पता नहीं चल रहा था कि आगे कहाँ गए। तो फिर ये ट्रैक हुआ कि ये शायद हिमाचल की तरफ जा रहे हैं, और हिमाचल को जब हम ट्रैक करते गए तो फिर लगा कि ये मनाली पहुँचे और तुरंत ही वापस भी हो लिए। तो फिर हमने इनको चंडीगढ़ में इंटरसेप्ट करके रात में अरेस्ट किया।
चंडीगढ़ में कहाँ से सर?
चंडीगढ़ में सेक्टर 22 एक होटल है, उसमें।
होटल में सर वहाँ पर ठहरे हुए थे?
फेक आइडेंटिटी पे।
और सर, इसके पीछे वजह क्या, कुछ पता चल पा रही? हत्याकांड की वजह क्या?
वजह है, सब कुछ है, लेकिन इस बारे में अभी मेरा कहना उचित नहीं होगा।
सर, प्राथमिक जांच में तो बोल सकते हैं
क्योंकि वो राजस्थान पुलिस इसका पूरा खुलासा करे तो ज़्यादा अच्छा। हमने अपना ऑपरेशन सक्सेसफुली एग्जाम दे दिया उनके साथ मिलके। वो एक बड़ी चीज़ थी, क्योंकि जो पकड़े नहीं जा रहे थे, जिससे राजस्थान में जो रोष हो रहा था, 72 घंटे में हमने पूरा ऑपरेशन करके कंप्लीट कर दिया। उसी पे मैं अभी बोलना चाहूँगा।
सर, रोहित और उधम को लेकर गए, नितिन तो सर वही?
हाँ, नितिन भी हमारे साथ ही था। उसको एडवांस में भेज दिया क्योंकि कुछ रिकवरी वगैरह करनी थी, इसलिए उसको एडवांस में भेज दिया।
सर, इनके पास से कुछ बरामदगी भी दिखाई आपने?
अभी कुछ नहीं।
तो देखिए, ये स्पेशल सीपी हैं रविंद्र यादव जी, जो क्राइम ब्रांच स्पेशल सीपी। इन्होंने बताया 72 घंटे के में हमने इस पूरे जो केस के जो आरोपी थे उनको पकड़ा। 72 घंटे में इस केस को एक तरह से कहेंगे कि जो इतने दिनों से जो कवायद चल रही थी शूटर्स को पकड़ने की, जो आरोपी थे उनको पकड़ने की, आज उसको हमने 72 घंटे में उनको गिरफ्तार करके आज राजस्थान पुलिस को हम हवाले कर देंगे। वो जो यहाँ से नितिन, रोहित और उधम तीनों को। और इन्होंने बताया किस तरह से पूरी टीम, हमने आपको दिखाया कि क्राइम ब्रांच की टीम किस तरह से लगी रही, इतने घंटों से लगातार उनके पीछे कहाँ जा रहे हैं, कैसे जा रहे हैं, सब चीज़ें ट्रैक करती रही। और कई स्टेट की पुलिस को अलर्ट कर दिया था कहीं, क्योंकि किसी भी स्टेट में जा सकते थे, ये पंजाब हो या उन्होंने बताया कि राजस्थान, उसके अलावा वो हिमाचल भी जा सकते थे। तो इस सारी स्टेट की पुलिस को अलर्ट करने के बाद हमने यानी कि उन्होंने बताया कि दिल्ली की क्राइम ब्रांच की टीम में, दिल्ली पुलिस की, उन्होंने उनको गिरफ्तार किया और इस पूरे केस के जो आरोपी थे उनको हैंडओवर भी कर रहे हैं।
Construction works on the Ram Temple in Uttar Pradesh's Ayodhya is going on in full swing. The General Secretary of Sri Rama Janmabhoomi Tirath Kshetra Trust, Champat Rai, unveiled stunning images of the temple's sanctum sanctorum on the 9th of December. Now, this preview comes ahead of the consecration ceremony scheduled for the 22nd of January 2023 in Ayodhya. Rai mentioned that the sanctum sanctorum of Lord Sri Ram Lalla is nearly complete with the recent completion of lighting fitting work. These images offered a glimpse into the splendid sanctum sanctorum, heightening the anticipation of devotees eagerly awaiting the consecration of the temple. Meanwhile, Chairman of Ayodhya Ram Mandir Construction Committee, Nirpendra Mishra, visited the construction work for Ram Mandir. On the 8th of December, the Trust had earlier released pictures showcasing the current status of the under construction Ram Janmabhoomi temple. Notably, 3 different artists are sculpting 3 distinct idols of Ram Lalla, and the finest among them will be chosen before the consecration on the 22nd of January.
अयोध्या में जो भगवान राम मंदिर का निर्माण हो रहा है उसकी प्रगति समीक्षा की जा रही है और अब तक की समीक्षा से हम आश्वस्त हैं कि 22 जनवरी को जो कार्यक्रम है प्राण प्रतिष्ठा का वह सही और पूर्ण रूप से और एक जो व्यवस्था के अनुकूल हो सकेगा। यह पूरा प्रयास है, आश्वस्त हैं और भगवान राम नए मंदिर में अपना स्थान लेंगे।
On the eve of her 14th birthday, Asha Matre was waiting for a cake that her diplomat father had promised. Except Ravindra Matre never showed up. That's because nearly 40 years ago, Ravindra Matre was killed in cold blood in the UK. Multiple people were charged with the murder of Ravindra Matre, but who was the man who pulled the trigger? 4 decades on, what is it that we've learned? News9 Plus has published a full-blown investigative piece on the killer of Ravindra Matre. Where is he now and the possible impact of his whereabouts? You can watch the full show on the News9 Plus application. Meanwhile, here's a snippet. Take a look.
I have not been told any official version. I know whatever I saw. Nobody's contacted us to see whether we are alive or dead. Not a peep out of subsequent governments even after that.
He's the person who actually pulled the trigger, killing Mr. Matre.
Is he still alive?
49-year-old Birmingham-based
Indian diplomat vanishes. On birthday, daughter waits
for missing father.
KLA claims responsibility
Demands
Kashmiri separatists.
Maqbool Bhatt's release. Abducted diplomat
Found murdered in Leicestershire.
After Indian diplomat Ravindra Matre's killing in 1984, 3 kidnappers were arrested by UK and Maqbool Bhatt was immediately hanged by India. But who was the person who actually pulled the trigger and killed Ravindra Matre? This has forever remained a mystery for the last 40 years. News9 Plus has been investigating this case for last several months to understand the chain of events. For the very first time in our investigation, we unmask the killer of Ravindra Matre. The killing was done by JKLF terrorist Masrat Iqbal Malik, who has been hiding in Kotli of Pakistan-occupied Kashmir since last 40 years. This has also been verified by both Hashim Qureshi and Shabir Chaudhry.
मुसरत इकबाल था, वो इस केस पे था इन्वॉल्व, लेकिन उसकी वो किराए के तौर पे ना अमानुल्लाह के घर में भी रहता था। उसने कहा कि अमान साहब, मुझे लगता है कि अब पुलिस हमें घेर रही है, हम क्या करें। अमानुल्लाह के अल्फाज थे, गोली मारो उसे, गोली मारो उसे और फेंक दो। मैंने कहा यार तुम किसको क्यों मार रहे हो उसको गोली? उधर एक तो मकबूल भट्ट को फांसी देंगे और फिर दूसरा ये बेगुनाह आदमी है, इसको क्यों मारोगे गोली?
I can say that killing order of the killing was given by Amanullah Khan, but he felt at the time that police will be able to arrest the kidnappers, and that will disgrace the party, and those people will be in trouble, and maybe JKLF could be in trouble. This he confessed to me when he was in hospital. He had a lung cancer, and at that critical moment I asked him, I said, who ordered to kill him? He was vulnerable at the time, and he said to me, yes, I ordered it.
Stop searching, start streaming. Download the world's first news OTT, News9 Plus, ahead of the curve.
The following content may contain visuals that are disturbing, graphic, or sensitive in nature. Viewer discretion is advised. This material is intended for mature audiences and may not be suitable for all viewers. Please exercise caution while watching, and if you find such content distressing, we recommend discontinuing viewing. This disclaimer is provided to ensure awareness and to prioritize viewer well-being.
Now, the war between Israel and Hamas has entered its 65th day. Let's get you the latest update from the war front. US skipped congressional review to approve emergency sale of tank shells to Israel. That's there. The Biden administration has used, in fact, an emergency authority to allow the sale of about 14,000 tank shells to Israel without congressional review. Half of Gaza's population is starving. That is what a UN official has said amid desperate humanitarian crisis. Israeli study finds civilians make up 61% of Gaza deaths from airstrikes. University of Pennsylvania president steps down amid criticism of anti-Semitism testimony. IDF declares deaths of 5 more troops, including nephew of ex-IDF chief, who also lost his son. Meanwhile, Jaishankar has spoken to Palestinian Prime Minister and reiterated India's long-standing position. Israel's military chief, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi, urges increased pressure on Hamas, noting signs of their system collapsing. He stated that terrorists surrendering indicate need to intensify efforts. Take a listen.
I see the achievements from day to day. We are seeing every day terrorists who are killed, also terrorists who are injured. In the last days, we see terrorists who are surrendering, a sign of the collapse of the system, a sign that we need to press harder. And this is what we are doing.
The IDF has announced deaths of 5 soldiers. 1 succumbed to October 7 wounds and 4 died in fighting in the southern Gaza Strip. The total toll in the Hamas offensive now stands at 97, including the nephew of ex-IDF chief, Gadi. Now, the IDF says another 12 soldiers from several units were seriously wounded during fighting in Gaza on Friday and Saturday. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed regret over Security Council's failure to demand a Gaza ceasefire. Guterres has condemned geostrategic divisions that have paralyzed the world body, hindering solutions to the Israel-Hamas war. He said that the delayed response to the conflict severely undermines the Security Council's authority and credibility. He also reiterated his appeal for a humanitarian ceasefire, promising not to give up despite the Security Council's failure. Listen in.
The horrific attacks by Hamas on 7 October followed by the relentless silence from the Council. After more than 1 month, the Council finally passed a resolution which I welcome, but that delay comes at a cost. The Council's authority and credibility were severely undermined. And the resolution is not being implemented. Floods and droughts across Africa. Hunger in Haiti is inflamed by bombs. I said that we are facing a severe risk of collapse of the humanitarian system. The situation is fast deteriorating into a catastrophe with potentially irreversible implications for Palestinians as a whole and for peace and security in the region. Today, after a short period of unipolarity, and I reiterated my appeal for a humanitarian ceasefire to be declared. Regrettably, the Security Council failed to do it, but that does not make it less necessary. So, I can promise I will not give up. By new technologies. Artificial intelligence could provide solutions to many global. Beyond the Security Council, global governance is failing to manage two existential threats. First, climate. We need far more ambition to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and ensure climate justice. Despite promises and pledges, our climate is in breakdown. Emissions are at an all-time high, and fossil fuels remain their major cause.
A military spokesperson for Yemen's Houthis warned all shipping companies on Saturday against cooperating with Israel, saying they will be a target of attack in the Red Sea. Now, Yahya Saree announced a ban on the passage of all ships en route to Israel unless the Gaza Strip receives the food and medicine it needs.
After the successful efforts of the Yemeni armed forces with the help of God, in enforcing its decision to prevent Israeli ships from navigating in the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea, and due to the Zionist enemy continuous committing of horrific massacres, genocide and siege against our brothers in Gaza, the Yemeni armed forces hereby announce the prohibition of the passage of ships heading to the Zionist entity of any nationality if the Gaza Strip does not receive the food and medicine it needs. These ships will become legitimate targets for our armed forces. In our efforts to ensure the safety of maritime navigation, we warn all ships and companies against dealing with Israeli ports. The Yemeni armed forces reaffirm its full commitment to the continuity of the international trade through the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea for all ships and all countries except for ships associated with Israel or those transporting goods to Israeli ports. The Yemeni armed forces will implement decision immediately upon the announcement of the statement.
The Biden administration has invoked emergency authority, bypassing congressional review to permit the immediate sale of approximately 14,000 tank shells to Israel, valued at $106.5 million, according to the Pentagon's announcement on Saturday. This move comes under an Arms Export Control Act emergency declaration issued by the State Department. The tank rounds are part of a larger package exceeding $500 million, encompassing 45,000 shells designed for Israel's Merkava tanks, commonly used in offensive operations in Gaza. As the conflict escalates, scrutiny has intensified regarding the precise deployment and impact of U.S. weapons in the region. While U.S. officials assert that there are no plans to impose conditions on military aid to Israel, human rights advocates have expressed reservations about the sale, arguing that it contradicts Washington's efforts to encourage Israel to minimize civilian harm. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has reportedly provided Congress with detailed justification for the immediate provision of the tank shells to Israel, citing national security interests. The sale involves items from the US Army inventory, specifically 120 mm M830A1 high explosive anti-tank multi-purpose with tracer tank, cartridges and related equipment. University of Pennsylvania president, who came under fire for her stance on anti-Semitism on her institution's campus, has tendered her resignation, according to a message sent on Saturday by the chair of the Ivy League Schools Board of Trustees. Now, McGill, along with Harvard and MIT presidents, faced backlash for their testimony on anti-Semitism amid the Israel-Hamas conflict. Jewish communities criticized their handling of pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian clashes. McGill will stay until an interim president is appointed, said Scott Book, who's the chair of the university's Board of Trustees.
Moment during yesterday's congressional hearing on anti-Semitism, when I was asked if a call for the genocide of Jewish people on our campus would violate our policies. In that moment, I was focused on our university's longstanding policies aligned with the US Constitution, which say that speech alone is not punishable. I was not focused on, but I should have been, the irrefutable fact that a call for genocide of Jewish people is a call for some of the most terrible violence human beings can perpetrate. It's evil, plain and simple. I want to be clear. A call for genocide of Jewish people is threatening, deeply so. It is intentionally meant to terrify a people who have been subjected to pogroms and hatred for centuries and were the victims of mass genocide in the Holocaust. In my view, it would be harassment or intimidation.
Thousands marched through London during a protest in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. Demonstrators marched chanting and holding signs calling for an end to Hamas's oppressive rule, showing support for Palestinians in Gaza. Since the truce collapsed last week, Israel has expanded its ground campaign into the southern half of the Gaza Strip by launching the storming of Khan Yunis. Take a look. In Tel Aviv, parents of Gaza hostages demand their release. A mother holding her son's photo stressed the need for an end to the war for his return. Another father highlighted Israel's focus on securing hostages' release. Take a look.
We don't celebrate Hanukkah right now. We will celebrate it when he comes back. We don't know really how this will end, but you know, after 64 days, we are exhausted. This is, I think, the most, you know, this is the word that describes this situation right now for us the most, because it's every day, all night, every minute, every second of the day. You feel, you know, you are so scared, and you know that your son needs you, and you cannot help him. You know, it's something that is with his hands of these monsters, and I know that he needs me, and he's still a teenager, and I cannot help him. It's something that, as a parent, I don't think that you can even imagine this scenario. I think that the war has to be end. It has to end, and then I hope that there will be some kind of a deal, and they will bring all the hostages back. I don't think that another ceasefire right now will bring my son back. I really believe that the war should end as soon as possible. I really hope for this. I hope that it will end until the end of the year. So, we can have him back with us for the new year.
Thousands in Tel Aviv rally demanding hostages released 2 months after Hamas seized them from Israel. Parents of Itechen, a 19-year-old hostage, called for Red Cross access and urged Israeli government leadership. Approximately 100 hostages were freed in a truce, but over 130 reportedly remain in Gaza. Israel initiated the campaign after Hamas attacked on the 7th of October, resulting in casualties and capturing hostages. Gaza's residents face displacement, with over 17,700 reported killed, according to Gaza's health ministry. Take a listen.
Now a few words in English, if I may. So we are the parents of Itai Penn, 19 years old, captured and abducted in Gaza. We are asking ourselves, why is it that our son has not received any visitation from the International Red Cross? Why is it that no one has looked at him and provided medical attention? Where is the Red Cross and why are they not doing their job? We are asking the Israeli cabinet, the war cabinet, to talk to us, the families, and explain what exactly is on the negotiation table to keep us families informed where we need to be, we demand to be part of the decision process. We ask the Israeli government to show leadership.
Displaced Palestinians staying in makeshift tents in a hospital in Deir al-Balah in the central Gaza Strip say that they struggle to find food and water to feed their families, as well as with cold nights inside the tents. With the vast majority of Gazans now displaced and unable to access any aid, hospitals are overrun and food is running out. The main UN agency in Gaza said society was quote-unquote on the verge of a full-blown collapse. The vast majority of Gaza's 2.3 million residents have already been forced from their homes, many fleeing several times, with fighting raging across the length of the territory. Residents and the UN agencies say there is now effectively nowhere safe to go, though Israel disputes this.
It's hard to live. We can't do anything. There is no cooking gas or wheat. The bread, which is with us for the past few days, we heat it up for the kids to eat. We are under siege. We can't go to the south. There is no canned food, no rice. Our life is a hell. We can sometimes get bread from children. Sometimes we go around to the tents to get a bread.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar spoke to Palestinian Prime Minister and reaffirmed India's long-standing position on the Palestine-Israel issue. Jaishankar posted on X, formerly Twitter, and wrote, spoke to Palestinian Prime Minister Mohammad Shtayyeh this evening. He expressed deep concern on the situation in both Gaza and the West Bank, reiterated India's long-standing position on Palestine, agreed to remain in touch. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on the 19th of October, 12 days after the start of the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, in a conversation with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, had also reiterated New Delhi's long-standing position on the Palestine-Israel issue. As per an earlier statement by Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Arindam Bakshi, India's long-standing position on the issue has been, and I quote, India has always advocated the resumption of direct negotiations towards establishing a sovereign, independent and viable state of Palestine, living within secure and recognized borders, side by side at peace with Israel. I think that position remains the same, unquote. Let's now take a look at what's been happening on the international front. A new national poll conducted by the Wall Street Journal has shown that former United States President Donald Trump has a narrow lead over incumbent President Joe Biden if there was a rematch for the presidential chair in 2024. Given a choice between Trump and Biden, 47% of the registered voters in the US said that they will support Trump in the elections scheduled next year. Biden was found to be trailing Trump by 4 percentage points as only 43% of the registered American voters favored him. 10% of those questioned in the survey were still undecided about their preference. The Wall Street Journal poll finds Biden to be able to maintain only 87% of his supporters from the 2020 elections, while for Trump, in fact, the same number goes up to 94%. But there is a twist to the survey as well. When given a hypothetical situation in which Trump is convicted of a felony charge, the voters split evenly between the two candidates, with 46% favoring Biden and 45% going with Trump. When a third party or an independent candidate is put in the mix, then Trump's edge over Biden widens a bit more. This is not the first survey which has shown Trump to be having a lead over Joe Biden. Other recent national polls too have given Trump a narrow advantage. Egypt's presidential elections, which will take place on the 10th of December to 12th of December, will most likely see the 69-year-old incumbent Abdel Fattah al-Sisi winning a third term, which would be a first for the country of 113 million people. Up until 2019, the constitution only allowed 2 presidential terms, and al-Sisi was elected with no opposition to speak of, with around 97% of the votes in 2014 and 2018. He then pushed for constitutional amendments that legitimize Egyptian presidents to stay for a third term and extend the terms from 4 to 6 years. Egypt's president Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is standing for a third term, with the result a resounding win yet again in sight. Wars on the country's borders, especially in Gaza, have helped him stand as the stability candidate despite Egyptians' growing economic desperation. But while President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's reputation has improved somewhat, observers fear that neither Egypt's economic crisis nor the dire human rights situation will be resolved.
Egypt's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is poised to win 6 more years in power, a result that isn't in doubt. That's despite growing despair about soaring prices, which have stirred criticism of Sisi's record on the economy and his crackdowns on dissent. In power for close to a decade, the former army chief presents himself as a guarantor of stability in a volatile neighborhood. 2 wars on Egypt's borders, in Gaza and Sudan, have hardly hurt that image. Sisi announced his campaign for the December 10th to 12th election would be curtailed to save funds for aid to Gaza, though giant posters of his face are everywhere. If only he'd been content with the 10 years, says Mohammed Anwar Sadat, a moderate opposition figure and former member of parliament.
Before the events of Gaza, the pressure on economic and living conditions, as well as other issues, were questioned by people and had created a state of anger against President Sisi and big reservations about his policies. Since the beginning of the events in Gaza, there has been a state of calm and tranquility in the minds of many, who started to feel it was better if the current president continues.
Sisi has overseen a crackdown since leading the 2013 ouster of Egypt's first democratically elected president, Mohamed Morsi of the Muslim Brotherhood. Sisi and the military establishment are tight, while the Brotherhood has been driven underground or abroad. The constitution was amended in 2019 to let Sisi stand for a third time, and it extended the presidential term to 6 years from 4. Sisi was declared winner with 97% of the vote in the previous 2 elections. But Egyptian authorities seem wary of a public backlash this time, so 3 candidates have qualified to stand, all of them low profile and muted in their criticism. This is Medhat Az-Zahed, head of the Socialist Popular Alliance Party, which is boycotting the vote.
They needed a degree of competition because of pressure concerning freedoms and human rights in Egypt and pent-up popular frustrations. So there was an attempt to release these frustrations through peaceful means, so long as the ceiling is defined.
A national dialogue earlier this year allowed the airing of a few critical views, and some prisoners were pardoned. But arrests have continued. Parliament is dominated by Sisi's supporters, and his allies control the media. A campaign by leftist politician Ahmed al-Tantawi, the most prominent potential opposition candidate, briefly tapped into pent-up discontent. But he dropped out of the race, citing pressure from pro-government forces. He's now facing a judicial case on allegations of using illicit means to collect endorsements. Sisi's campaign office did not respond to requests for comment.
The current president can get at most 1% of the votes out of real support, and I expect he can get 10% of votes using the same ways he used to gather endorsements. But as for the sweeping majority of the Egyptian people, they were waiting for a serious candidate.
Fears about the economy have not gone away. The state has crowded out the private sector. Egypt's debts have ballooned after a spending spree on mega projects like a new capital east of Cairo. And prices have rocketed for ordinary Egyptians, like Ahmed Khudair, who had this message for Sisi.
We ask him to lower the prices a bit for people to afford them, because families have 5 or 6 members, so lowering the prices would help people and help them live. I call on people before anything, before focusing on prices, to go vote for the President of the nation, because this way he will help people. He's already helping people.
On that note, it's a wrap on this edition of The Bulletin. Thank you very much for joining me. You have a blessed day ahead. This is me, Neha, signing off.
He thought he could outlast us.